Racing is also illegal and extremely dangerous, not just for the daredevil drivers, but also for you.
Fox 5 investigative reporter Joe Waldman shows us why.
It's extremely dangerous and reckless.
But it's also as popular as ever. You can find an unlimited supply of YouTube videos made by illegal street racers.
Morning, New York City.
They're getting more bold and more brash, playing their own illegal games right in front of Madison Square Garden. And they don't care who's around.
That's how we do it.
But what they're doing is not just illegal, it also has devastating consequences. Just ask Jamie and Chris Loggia. Their car was struck on the Belt Parkway back in March, just after midnight, by a street racer they say was going more than 100 miles an hour. He never stopped.
What did it sound like as they were approaching you?
What was that? I swerved to the left into the guardrail.
And that's all I heard.
I tried to regain control and then was
fuck up.
When the dust cleared, this was all that was left of the Loggia's Ford Expedition. For this huge NASCAR fan, it was one race he wanted no part of.
My body was pretty much in half. I broke both hips. I broke a few ribs. I broke 2 vertebrae in my lower back. My spleen was bleeding. My liver was bleeding. I had a collapsed lung.
I bet you that was a racer too.
My arm looked like it wasn't attached. It was faced the other way.
Jamie's trapped. They cut her out with the jaws of life.
Jamie woke up with 30 staples in her head.
Should've woke up with
shoulder,
34.
Broken wrist. Her hand still has glass in it. But her health was not all she lost in the crash.
I was a nanny, and unfortunately, they could not wait for me to get better, so they had to replace me, so I had lost my job.
Chris kept his, as of all things, an auto parts salesman for high-performance cars. He was put back together with the help of metal rods and wires. As much a part of him now as is his cane. The two spend 6 days a week in physical therapy, but the Loggias are not the only ones suffering because of out-of-control street racers.
It felt like a nightmare. I mean, it was probably 5 seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Being, you're not expecting this to happen to you when you're going home.
This victim was too afraid to reveal his identity because of fear of retaliation. But he says he was also struck at more than 100 miles per hour, also on the Belt Parkway after midnight, and like the Loggias, he says the person who hit him never stopped either.
This is a very well organized group. There's a lot of money that's being placed on these drag races. It's very well published online on YouTube.
Like this one that shows how money makes the wheels spin.
You want to go double or nothing if they both beat you, then it's $140 in our pocket.
The race cars themselves are often wagered, and we're told betting lines can reach 50 grand a race. But for the victims, it can be much more costly.
There's many individuals who came to salvage the vehicle who said, how did you survive from this accident? You should have broke your neck.
The street racing victims Fox 5 spoke to tell us something else is broken. The system of investigating these accidents.
They really weren't doing anything. They couldn't find anything.
Nothing was looked into.
The Loggias claim NYPD never did anything to look for the suspect in the first place, and they might just be right. 7 weeks after the accident, Jamie and her dad came back here to the crime scene. After all, it was written up as a hit and run, but what they found was incredible. They found pieces of the vehicle, Chris's jacket, as well as his wallet with $160 still inside. And that find to Loggias was absolutely stunning.
I would think, being it was a criminal investigation because the guy took off, that you'd take everything from the scene of the crime, and obviously that wasn't the case.
That's not all. Remember the man too afraid to show his face? Well, he tells Fox 5 his accident was written up as property damage.
An officer comes out, tells me, they messed up.
And that was not the only mistake. Cops also wrote that the victim fled the scene that morning, but he showed Fox 5 proof he was taken away in an ambulance.
I want to see them take some action. I want to see them stop this nonsense.
He's not the only one wondering what's going on.
If you walked up to somebody in the middle of the street and you took a pipe and you hit them over the head, you'd be arrested for a felony, an assault, and possibly a murder if the person died. So how is it different if someone uses a car to accomplish the same end?
Queens City Councilman Jimmy Van Bramer says Maspeth and Woodside residents, alarmed about the numbers of people injured, even dying at the hands of illegal street racers, urged him to do something about it. Neighbors said quality of life deteriorated so badly that people were even moving away.
People think that this problem only happens in the suburbs or in rural places. They don't think of it happening on the streets of New York City, but it has happened all over. It happened on this stretch for 40 or 50 years.
So the councilman focused on Maurice Avenue in Queens. He says it was one of the busiest drag strips in the entire city. He said cops frequently patrolled the street when it was at its worst, even using garbage trucks to block the road and police choppers overhead. But the councilman told us that it was never enough to stop the aggressive street racers, until he appealed to the city's Department of Transportation.
It took us about a year, but we got the speed bumps installed, and it has ended drag racing on Maurice Avenue.
The speed bumps work miracles on Maurice Avenue, but not far away on the Belt Parkway, the thrill seekers continue to push the limits of speed and safety, with no respect for innocent drivers who happen to get in their way.
You're asking for trouble. Obviously you don't care about the people around you. If you're doing this, it's not safe. It's just not safe.
Chris Logia tells us he may need to use his cane for the rest of his life, while the man who did not want to be identified will soon need surgery because of his excruciating pain. And while both those accidents happened on the Belt Parkway, the NYPD tells us it does not consider the Belt a problem, at least when it comes to illegal street racing. We push cops further, wanting to know how prevalent the problem is, but all they would tell us is illegal street racing is a difficult crime to try to quantify. Joel Waldman, Fox 5 News.